over the holidays, I was traveling through France, and I knew I would be learning some street smarts, some new street smarts. Fellow Toastmasters, this morning, I'd like to share with you 3 of my experiences that will hopefully save you some anxiety and potential embarrassment should you ever find yourself traveling through France with limited street smarts. Let's start with my first example, doors. When I arrived to the flat I was renting, I was confronted with these big double doors, and these big brass knobs were on each door. I typed in the key code on the side of the door that unlocked the doors, and then I went to turn the knobs, but they were just jiggling, they weren't turning, so I thought, gosh, I guess I better pull on this, and I'm yanking on the different knobs, and it's not opening, and I'm looking around, the other people on the street worrying what they're thinking, why this girl can't open a door. I started panicking, thinking, I'm going to be stranded on this street. Luckily, the door gave way before me as somebody else from the inside opened it. And that is lesson number 1. Just because there's a knob or a handle on a door doesn't mean it has any functional use. Try pushing it instead. I applied this lesson when I arrived to the next flat in Nice. Similar doors, but instead there was this long, inviting handle. I didn't even try pulling it. I pushed that door in and was like, yeah, I got it. My second example takes us to the Père Lachaise Cemetery, where I was looking for the gravesite of my all-time favorite piano composer, Frédéric Chopin. I was getting a little frustrated after tromping around the leaves and the mud in between the different grave sites looking for his. I just couldn't find it in the section that I thought it should be in. With dismay, I started heading back toward the entrance from which I came because it was starting to get dark. Horrified, I found that the gates were locked. Oh no, I am locked inside a cemetery at night. Cold. This is really bad. I started heading along the edge wall of the cemetery, hoping to find another exit, but I was so afraid that the next one would be locked too. My panic started subsiding when I found there were other people still in the cemetery too. Surely they wouldn't lock us all in here, right? That's lesson number 2. If you don't know where you're going, follow people that do know where they're going. They led me right to another exit that was open, thank goodness. My third example of learning a new type of street smarts literally takes place on the streets of Paris. It was the 3rd night of my trip when I was on my way walking to an evening Toastmasters meeting where I volunteered to be table topics master for the very first time ever in a language I didn't speak. On my way to the meeting, I was getting lost. My maps were absolutely useless because there were no street signs anywhere. I could not find street signs. These people are crazy. How do they not mark their streets and know where they're going? I had a trick though. You see, along the main streets, there's bus stops, and on each bus stop, there's a map with a little "You Are Here" symbol. And so I was literally playing a game of hotter or colder, running from bus stop to bus stop, so moving closer or further from the Toastmaster meeting. This got me so far, but eventually there were no more bus stops between myself and the meeting. So at this point, I had to ask for directions. The directions were not very helpful though, because the second I turned the corner, once again, I was lost. And I started getting downtrodden. It was raining. My feet were getting blistered from the heels that I was running in, running in. And I was alone. I had never felt so alone and lost. And worst of all, I thought, I'm never going to make it to my Toastmaster meeting on time, and I'm committed to Table Topics Master. I started crying. Oh. But I wiped my tears away to ask a 3rd person for directions. And I watched this gentleman. When I asked him, what street are we on, he looked up to the corner of the building. And there was the name of the street engraved on the corner. Lesson number 3. Though these signs may be inconspicuous, somewhat inconsistent. The street signs do exist on the corner of buildings in France. And with this knowledge, I made it to my Toastmasters meeting on time. When we look at all three of these examples together, I believe there's one overarching lesson, and that is to observe people closely. We do this every Friday morning at Toastmasters. Though we may not have a speaking role, we are all learning quite a bit from those who are speaking. We can watch what we'd like to emulate, or maybe what we'd like to avoid in our own speeches. Fellow Toastmasters, I believe if we take this methodology of observing people closely and apply it to the streets, each and every one of us